I'm the founder and owner of Nomo Speakers Bureau, a booking.
And we are live.
Hi, I'm Nomo Ada Babino with Nomo Speakers Bureau, a booking agency for a number of independent speakers and multicultural speakers who bring inspiring words and wisdom to you. We are very pleased to have with us today one of our Nomo speakers. Well, actually, three of Nomo speakers will be on board, but we're featuring Haile Gerima. We also have urban freelancer Maxie Collier, urbanfreelancers.com, Maxie Collier, who is working with us as well as participating in the conversation. And we have a few special guests, surprise guests, that are going to be popping up as we speak. A lot of people may not know Haile Gerima's name. It's not a household name. It's not a Hollywood name, but it is a name that is very well respected um, throughout the independent film world, as well as just worldwide. Um, and so we are very pleased to have Haile join us. He is also a professor at Howard University. He's part of the UCLA rebellion movement from the 70s, and just a continual and consistent advocate of independent film. And also someone very close to my heart. Haile is somebody who I basically started off when I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed right out of film school at Howard. And basically he and his family took me under their wings and taught me the whole independent arena of film. And it was one of those swim or drown type of lessons, but it has been something that has stayed with me throughout my life. So I'm very pleased and grateful to you, Haile Gerima Baba. So I want to just welcome
Hi.
you. Hi.
Hi.
I want to welcome you and Maxie, and I want to just kind of get started to just basically. A lot of folks can Google your name who don't know you, and get a whole bunch of information out there. There's a whole bunch out there on you. You have about 12 to films to date that you've done. You're working on a new project that we'll also discuss. But I just want to talk about the whole thing about independent filmmaking, because one thing that you said that has always stuck with me is that cinema is basically a weapon to kind of alter your way of life. And you're very consistent when you talk about film and how it can be used in your legacy and history. So I mean, what can you just expound a little bit upon that? You know, the whole film message in terms of being a weapon and a way of life and a way to capture, your legacy. Can you just expound on that a little bit for us?
Well, just camera, it's not really my own coining. Most Latin Americans call cinema the new hydrogen bomb. And why they call it that is because of the power of cinema. Cinema's capacity to change people's mindset, their way of life. It can change their thinking. It can condition them to a virtual reality that could get lost in the absence of individual choices. And so for me, I do agree with that, and I've always tried to tell my own story in it. And I think, especially independent filmmaking for me is, especially you feel unserved, if you feel outside the mainstream industry, if you feel your story is completely exiled, the best thing to do is pick up the camera, study a little bit of how to use it best, so it doesn't backfire on you. You can go to film school or study with filmmakers or study on your own, but it's good to know and study the power of cinema and the art and craft of the film. And with the idea of trying to tell one's personal story, uh, you will find audiences who are also hungered for the same story. And this is what happened to me. I mean, I made the films to respond to my own hunger first,
Mm-hmm.
but then in the process, I found people who were hungered for those stories too.
Mm-hmm. Well, when did you feel that filmmaking was a calling for you? How did you discover that?
Well, for me, it's accidental. I initially I didn't think I would have the right, the power, the you know the freedom to make films. I always thought films were always made by white people. From Africa to here, I believed that. For me, um, it's when I went to UCLA and I was still in the theater department, made a transition towards the film department, is when I began to see make sense, or the cinema might be the best platform to uh, put out my stories, my personal and my collective stories.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, for me,
Rima, when
go
we
ahead.
talk with other filmmakers nowadays, they don't understand the context of what it was like to make films. Well, first of all, even in the celluloid era, but much less. Can you tell some young filmmakers what it was like for you guys in that era in the early '70s to even begin to imagine making feature films? I had a good fortune of meeting Mr. Jamal Fanaka and having a long conversation with him, and he just told us so many stories what his experience was like in trying to make films in those early days.
Yeah, well, you know, um, there were attempts. Yeah, it's very important to know there were attempts. The problem is that most of the new generation doesn't know the past history of a people. Um, I think there were in the 1930s, even in 1910, 1940s, in the United States, there were independent black filmmakers. The problem when we came into the picture was the fact that we didn't know their history,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore uh, we came towards filmmaking short of that historical movement of the Oscar Micheaux, Noble Johnson, all these early African American filmmakers were critical, but unfortunately we knew about them almost in midway when we had already made some of our films. And I think for me, you know, to make films, to tell your story undictated by an outside force, always been an issue with black people in America. And so I think for young future filmmakers, it's very important for them to know the type of films that were made, however imperfect this work is. Very important for young people to know and access and be knowledgeable of the attempt. Otherwise, um, you will always think you are a Columbus who discovered, black cinema. And I think it's very, very important to know, even for your own freedom. When you think you are the first person, it's too much cumbersome to be in that position. And so it's very important to not be the first. You have to fight not to be the first, because you have to assume there was somebody like you before you who came. This supremacy has buried them down into the uh, into the dustbin of history. So now I teach my young film students to unearth these films and to know that there have been movements before you. That releases you from this cumbersome responsibility of being always the first, which I think is a trip for black people, to always be the first. That pressure undermines our capacity, our growth, and the best we can do is incarcerated or imprisoned in this whole capsule of first. It's the first that.
Well, I want to acknowledge Charles Burnett, very good friend of
Hello,
Haile.
Mr. Burnett.
Hello, everybody.
So it's wonderful to have two legendary folk here with us, so we can learn
Yes.
from. Charles, sit up a little bit. You're too far back, man. Okay.
I have this weird couch that that doesn't have a back to it. So,
Okay. No. I want to just say. I mean, one of the things that I thought was very interesting for both of you all is that you came on at a time and started in terms of learning cinema where you could really express your own voice freely. Although you were in, Hollywood, and you were in California, you had a choice in terms of being sucked up into that cycle. Because whether you want to or not, they put you as first. The media will say the first black, the first black, the first this, first that. So it's hard to fight that when a lot of these young folks that are getting their first chances into Hollywood. It's hard to fight that because that's the way they put you. They label you as that, and it adds the pressure and not knowing how to deal with it. But you all were in the environment of Hollywood.
Yeah,
and
but
Charles, you go in and out. You go in and out.
no. Well, not exactly, because I think when we were going to school, I mean, though Hollywood the studios were within a couple of miles from where we weren't a part of it, and we were never. I mean, I never thought that I would be a part of it. I mean, just an average person had to wait 20 years if they want to be a cameraman or anything like that to be a cameraman in Hollywood. But it was never offered to us. Now kids are offered opportunities to get into the film industry. But us, I mean, I thought myself I was going to be making films as a hobby, and that's it. I would have had a regular job to support myself. But film was just sort of like, like a sideline or something I did, my passion.
Well,
It wasn't to make a living out of it.
Larry Clark used to say when he writes his film, when he writes his script, he puts a lot of things in it, and because he was saying it's our last chance to make movies, I might as well put
bullshit.
A lot of my stories into in one movie. You put everything in.
But have those movies been picked up?
One time he was shooting going yeah, and so I think Charlie is right. One, the other thing is also I don't think they wanted us also, nor did I don't think, for example, in terms of me, I had a space to continue what I started with all my friends in LA. To me, because you were saying something, we were free. No, we were not. Even in the school, you had to fight tooth and nail to go on to do your movie. It's not easy. There's no easy world. I think every generation will have some we did it. Part of what was a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
To go to Hollywood was not a tradition. In fact,
for black folks.
Yeah, black folks, even in the 1940s, let's say if you take Noble Johnson, he was an actor in Hollywood, but he built an independent film company on the side called Lincoln Motion Picture to do the movies he wants to do. Mm-hmm. And that has been the history of black people in America, in Hollywood.
Yeah, but you all didn't know about that going to school. You were just doing your thing.
But the fact we didn't know it was not good. Charlie will tell you, there was a fellow student called Willie
Bell.
What was his name, Charlie?
Willie Bell.
Oh, Willie Bell. Okay, go ahead.
Who brought this, to see Oscar Michaud's movie, and I think we saw Scar of Shame. We saw a few other independent films made in the 1930, 1920, and 1940. And later on, we even saw earlier films. And so we knew the stereotyped films historically. Mm-hmm. I think that's what turned us off about Hollywood most of the time.
I I think one of the things was when they had a class in American films, the films by Oscar Micheaux and Spencer Williams and all these other people weren't included. It was only until Willie Bell had brought them and brought it to our attention. I mean, it was a sort of like a parallel reality existence.
Yeah,
in your films.
yeah. It's
Well,
an
I mean,
American film history class we took did not include all Americans.
well, let me just say this, because if you look at that now, the film history classes, the award shows, all of the stuff that we bring, to a large extent, do not include you all, and you all are legends in the film industry, in our industry, making meaningful films, and you're being left out of the history. You're having to struggle to search for money for your next film, which is it hurts. It hurts to see you all at this phase. This is your twilight year.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. I don't. But I'm sorry. That's not. I know Charlie, and for me, we knew it was a struggle to make a movie, and we knew. I knew the consequences of the fact that there's no money for black films or the type of black films that I wanted to do. So I don't think we were confused. I think we knew perfectly well, even if it accidentally money or some mainstream producers come your way, we always knew that we will make our films. We talk about to do our films in the most inexpensive way, but sustaining a higher production value. This is, so I'm not bluesy. I knew to me, it's not even mainstream cinema. The absence of black producers is a big problem for us. For us, we are filmmakers. We shouldn't have produced all our films. We should have had black film producers emerge. Mm-hmm. Without black film producers, you find us completely dislocated.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So, I mean, with all the struggles, there are joys and pains in terms of what keeps you in this struggle to create films. And I don't know, where are you now on the joy and pain spectrum in terms of still moving forward to do what you want to do and produce what you want to produce? I mean, can you speak to that? Where are you emotionally? How do you keep the strength? How do you keep the strength?
No, for me, you always have to plan to make films. You don't know, maybe when you're not Bank America's son or daughter, you're not Kodak's great-grandson, and so what you do is you always have to create the circumstances to do your movies. And now I'm in fact in the middle of a new world, joining young people who are pushing me into this Indiegogo thing. I don't know when Charlie's going to join me, but now I am embarking on this, not the crowd fundraising. We're not strangers to crowd fundraising. We've made films by donations and gifts, etc. So the new film I want to make now, I'm driving Soto with my new film with this Indiegogo. So this is again another way of trying to raise the stakes high in the continuing activity of my production, my films, and then if mine succeeds, I hope I could drag into this pool Charlie too. And if the crowdfunding is an alternative, we need to jump into this water now. I don't know if you heard about the film I'm trying to do. It's called Ye Tutelage.
Talk about that some more. Tell us about that.
There's a young lady here at me. Yeah, she's pointing some stuff at me called Ye Tutelage. New campaign on Indiegogo. Official launch will start Monday, June 1st. It's a new film.
So much for discreetness, but go ahead.
Yeah, this is my new campaign now, and so Charlie, eat your hearts out. I'm going first, so I'm gonna be out of our group. I'm gonna be Columbus who discovered Indiegogo.
No, hey, Haile, we tried Kickstarter with a film with this production. I mean, for this script we had called Faith and Credit. The producer had already went to Kickstarter, but we didn't do very well. So
Well,
Well,
that
Charlie,
Kickstarter is all or none, Charlie. I
I
don't
know.
even. Yeah, I don't like that.
Charlie, well, I almost started Kickstarter. I think you were one of the people, and a few other convinced me to go Indiegogo because
Mhm.
it could go to towards the film still, and you'll still
Yeah.
struggle to do the film. And so I
Mm-hmm.
hope I could be a good example because I think all of us can, if it begins to work, we need to think out because with all the black people, just forget those who haven't seen our films. But if all the black people, in Europe, in Africa, in here, Brazil, those black folks who've seen our films alone, and the progressive white folks and the other folks, Hispanics, if they put $1 each, we got it going. So I think we should give it a serious um, approach. I mean, I'm learning. I'm not going to preach to anybody, but I'm learning even how to say those things. Indiegogo, Kickstart. Uh, for years, my
Mr.
students
Garima,
kept saying this thing to me, and I was avoiding this discussion.
You were being very, very stubborn. But I'm
Mr.
glad,
Garima, I
that
remember
you opened up.
about 20 years ago in Washington, D.C., that with you, where you said to me, if you're going to make commercial film, make the best commercial film that you can. If you're going to make your movie that's in your heart, you may or may not ever make money. And that stuck with me. I thought about any film project or anything. But what about those folks who want to make a living and who want to make making as a profession, or even teaching film as a profession? What are some career thoughts or planning thoughts that you would give to the new generation of filmmakers?
Well, both for you
Well,
all.
when you were talking early, I'll tell you this in terms of I remember very well, clearly, what I said to you because it's what I say to every. I don't like black people to be completely transfixed in schizophrenic position of which to serve what. What we have to look at is
As a
individually at a
profession,
given
what are some
historical moment.
career
Can you
thoughts?
do commercial? And if you do a good one. Don't play halfway and create a schism. To me, we oftentimes when we're not clear, you go like if you want to make money, you better be clear, and then you can take that money and make the films you feel precious about. It's been done before. Noble Johnson, for example, I told you earlier, he was acting Hollywood, an Arab playing this thing called this Spanish guy. They will cast him at everything. He takes that money, puts it in his company, and did the films that we should be proud he did at the time. So I think this we have to be clear. The other thing is we should never mix filmmaking. If we want to make money, the personal stories are risky. That, in fact, all films are risky, but especially black films that are personal, that are about collective history, are you have to. I went into Hollywood, came running to Howard. At Howard, I'm a what you call a seasonal worker. You can call it. I'm like a farm worker at Howard. I teach there, and then I do my movies. With my family, we've agreed not to eat film money to begin with because we know film cannot feed us, especially the kinds of films we want to make. So teaching at Howard feeds us.
I
And the
want
rest is the kind of analysis you have to do based on your individual situation. It's not a black pressure. It's not historic pressure. What do you want to do with your life before this fleeting life passes you? There, you have to make a clear analysis that is real to you. A lot of black people make a big mistake when they want to appease 20,000 husbands.
I
And
want
the rest is the kind of analysis you have to do based on your individual situation. It's not a black pressure, not historic pressure. What do you want to do with your life?
one of the things, since you're talking about family, I do want to acknowledge and bring up that Shrikiana Aina has tuned in. Hey, Shariq, how are you? And this is family. This is family. So Shariq, you can jump in at any time. Shariq is I hate to say your wife, but your partner, your better half, who has supported you over the years and understands about taking the film money away from families. Family, I do want to Aina.
That might be a
and hey, Shariq, how are you?
I'm fine, Ada. I'm not sure. I'm getting a little bit of a lag.
This family.
Yeah, same here.
But Shariq, you can jump in at any time. Shariq is I hate to say your wife. A minute ago, something happened. Your better half, who has supported over the years and understands about taking the film money away from families. Shariq, what's your browser? I think that's your browser. We were fine until that came on. Okay. Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Okay, okay. I know one of the things that, and if Shariq, you can jump in because I can't hear you anymore. But one of the things that I just think is interesting, I was curious to find out if you all had any idea that your films would have had such an impact on audiences who have been there to witness and see and your films. Did you ever have any idea the power of film when you were first getting into it and how it has impacted and changed lives over the years? And all the three of you can speak to that because can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Go ahead. I want you to speak to that. Did you have any idea coming into it that your films would have had such an impact on people's lives? And especially I want to speak to Sankofa and just because we've witnessed and seen how that has touched the lives of people and changed people's lives.
Well, I can say that when we're in film school, when the film department got politicized, we began to think in terms of film as a means of social change and as a tool to improve, things in the community, to have a dialogue, debate, or discussion, or something like that. So in that sense, it sort of came with, being involved in filmmaking at the time because it was just right after, the Watch Riots, the Civil Rights Movement, the Panthers, and all that stuff like that. So there was this notion that you as an individual can make a difference. And a lot of people in the arts, they had a lot of writers and poets and things like that that were engaged and active, and so it just became a thing that was a part and parcel of filmmaking. And we were, largely thinking about, well, what is a black film, not a black independent film? What is a black film? And we knew that having reached that, we would have an effect on the community. It was going to be actually like a localized thing where we made films and screened it in the community and things like that, because there wasn't any distribution available for films, for independent films outside of like Churchill films and films that deal with educational things like or industrial films. I don't think we even planned on how we were going to get our films distributed. It wasn't until that Pearl Bowles or Oliver Franklin and people like that who put on this program that took a bunch of independent filmmakers around in the communities throughout the country, and we got a chance to screen the films for the community and things like that and see how it affected people. But I think the other thing was we were trying to do something that sort of gave the public something, as opposed to these what do you call it, black exploitative films.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we were hoping to raise the
consciousness,
film culture and things like that, at some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But you really can't do that really in a large scale unless you think in terms of distribution. If you don't have a way of distributing films, you're somewhat like whistling in the wind to some extent, sitting in the wind, however you say it. But hello. Okay.
No, I hear you. Go ahead.
No, no, and so I mean, and I think at this time too, we were so, I mean, I guess we had so much passion about film. I mean, I don't think we looked very deeply at it. It was sort of assumed, you know. I think unlike New Yorkers who were, I think, a bit more sophisticated than we were in terms of business. You know, people on the West Coast were like just really engaged and passionate about making films. You know, working with other folks in their filmmaking adventure.
Oh, one of the things that gets me is, I mean, you talk about the social activism and the social consciousness. That doesn't seem to be an issue or a concern for this generation. So things have shifted, I guess, with the times.
Oh, let me tell you the difference. I mean,
Okay.
if you go to UCLA now or any of these black schools, you walk through campus and no one speaks. You know, when we were at UCLA, if you saw a shadow, it was only a few of us there. You know, but if you saw some brother across the sister way across the yard or something like that, you'd wave and you know and just embrace whatever it is. There was always a conversation. You know, but now you go on campuses, man, they just pass right by you and you know. And just ignore you. Who could this be?
Well, technology probably plays a part in that. The phones, everybody's looking at their cell phones, whatever. Sharif, can you hear now? Because I'm not here.
Hello?
Can you hear me now, Sharif?
Hi.
I can't.
I think she's logged on the early. She's logged wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
How about?
It's a reason mic open. Mic.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You wanted to comment?
You know, I couldn't hear a lot of the conversation that just happened with Charlie. Hi, everybody, by the way. But I just did want to talk a little bit about, you know, this Indiegogo idea. You know, as Haile said, it's a brand new thing for us on a technology level. And it's kind of scary, too, because, you know, you show your vulnerability. I think, you know, there may be some misconception about how we make movies because, even, and Charlie, too, I mean, I think that, you know, people think if you've made one movie and a few people know about it, then the next time you make a movie, you're going to be okay. And the truth is that every movie that we've made has taken several years to make, and that's just because of the funding. That has nothing to do with script writing, location hunting, finding the actors, rehearsing, shooting. It has to do with finding the money. And so every movie takes like 10 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, if people believe that, you know, some of the film people, the artists in their community have a little talent and have something to contribute to the lives of their own families and their children's families, now's the time to say, okay, we're going to make sure you don't spend another 10 years on your tutelage. That's the movie that Haile's working on now. And there's a little sign in the background. I think people are supposed to go to that sign for tweet at your tutelage. Sure
okay.
The right sign.
No. We'll
but the idea is that I think that people really I hope that our community, wherever we are in this country, you know, in Canada, in Brazil, in South Africa, and Ghana, will just say, look, we don't have that many filmmakers, and let's support the ones that we do have, because otherwise the films that they want to make are not going to get made. And God knows, you know, Haile's got a bunch of movies. He's always got something going. Right now he's working on one in the basement that there's no funding for, but he's working on the digital footage that he's got. Your tutelage script has been, you know, worked and reworked and reworked.
Yeah.
So let's just let this one be born and have a life, and we'll critique it when it comes out, say it works, doesn't work, and then let's make another one, the next one. The follow-up to Sankofa is on a back burner somewhere. So, you know, that's why I got on, because Ada said that, yeah, it's valuable to hear my point of view. So here, that's it.
And that's one of the things that's so exciting about crowdfunding is not necessarily on the individual project, but on building that long-term relationship and having that email address that will allow you for future films is the less resistance and effort. By the time you combine all those emails over the years of your strongest advocates for future projects, that database is right there for you. You know, and so that's really the opportunity, is to build that email list, have a successful crowdfunding on this level, and next time you don't have to go to Indiegogo. You can go directly to consumers, directly to your fans and supporters, because you have that email address, or you have that Twitter handle, or you have that Facebook like, and you're now able to communicate directly to. You're going to do it because you guys have so many generations of supporters. And there's the opportunity to use these tools, like the T-shirt on demand business is one of the things that is driving crowdfunding. Because just like the NR model, if I make a donation to a crowdfunding campaign, now I can look up and get a T-shirt as a short-term pacifier that shows up in my mailbox. And you guys are still able to make a profit off of that, contribute. So there's websites like Teespring, Teespring.com. With Teespring, you can upload a graphic today and a T-shirt that's available for sale tonight, and print them on demand for you, ship it out to the customer, and pay you the difference directly to your PayPal.
So I mean,
so think of these crowdfunding tools as a multiple tools.
No, that's the importance of connecting with young folks, bringing the legendary folks that have been doing it for years, and bringing them with this new millennium generation. I think the intersection of those two connecting, working together, is powerful, and I hope that it will be. One of the films I think that really changed your lives was Sankofa, because it changed my life as well, just in terms of giving me the strength and the power and the perseverance to do my own stuff and have the ownership of my own products. So I'll be forever grateful for that. But one of the things with Sankofa is that it was a film that spoke to, I think, African diaspora people, specifically Black folk in the U.S. and in a domestic realm. For your new film, which is Ethiopian in theme, in scope, how do you propose to reach out to that Sankofa crowd, to pull them in, for them to know the importance of this film and what it means to you to produce? And Haile, move your camera over a little bit. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, well, to me, I don't know. I don't have a magic ball. You know, I don't know who. No, if you saw Bush Mama, if you saw Ashes and Embers, if you saw Child of Resistance, if you saw Sankofa, if you saw Teza, Adwa, Imperfect Journey, the film Sharik also directed, Through the Door of No Return. I think it's flipped, girl.
That's right.
Your work is flipped now.
We see it.
Anyway, if you've seen those movies and you want me to make more movies, I'm not, you know, I don't know. To me, here in Africa, affirmed, over the years built, the population is built. None of them ever told me what kind of movie to make. Every film I made, they seem to have embraced it. And it's the same people that I hope will come around to help me pull my next film and my next film and my next film. I have a lot of scripts. I want to make them all. And to me, I can't speak about, I can't forecast. All I know is I'm doing now a new campaign. I want to do my next film, and so on and so on. So those people who saw Sankofa came and saw Teza also. They saw Adwa also. And so for me, any film done in Africa or here, there is a principal African descendant audience that I have learned over the years secondary. I've seen crossover, progressive audience.
Mhm.
Films, any group, black or white, but most people that are don't have a hang up. Those who are not extreme white supremacists have always lined up to see my films. So in North Carolina, in Texas, in Seattle, folks have seen my film.
Mhm.
Films I made in Ethiopia. The film I made first in 1974, Harvest 3,000 Years. A lot of African Americans have seen that film. They
And that's
continue to buy. They continue to buy the tape, the videotape. They're waiting for me. A lot of calls come to put it on DVD. I'm
mhm.
still struggling to put it on DVD, and so I don't see any dichotomy there. If they get the information, this is my hope, and they remember say, oh, that's the guy who made Sankofa. Oh, that's the guy who did Bush
Yeah,
Mama.
but talk
I
about
want
what your
them to
movie's
come on
about.
board.
Go ahead, Sheree.
What is the movie about? Talk a bit about what it's about. I think people want to know.
Yeah, say the title again
Well,
and
the
tell us what it's
film
about.
is about basically a young girl that is forced to rich people's home, promising to educate her, but turned her into a domestic servant. And her life means a lot to me. It's been a story that has been in my
Consciousness.
mind, armed to be
I'm getting audio breakup.
Excuse me, is it working? I mean, I'm getting a black
old now.
no
You're
voice
too
at all.
the breath.
Edgar's.
Yeah, I'm getting audio breakup, Max.
Okay, I'm hearing you, Ada, and the video's breaking up. Heile's video's breaking up. Yours seems to be coming through still. How you doing, Edgar?
Yo, what's up, man?
We've got another normal speaker. Edgar Davis joins us, another filmmaker.
Mhm.
Hey, Edgar, take your hat off. I can't see your face. Okay.
That's a good reason.
Okay.
Monday bar break. I see you, Edgar.
Good reason for that.
Hailey, you were breaking up. Can we hear you? Say something so I can make sure I hear you again.
Okay, looks like he's frozen.
Okay. Okay.
We can continue and maybe you can reconnect.
Okay, that's fine. So Charles, in the meantime, I'm gonna jump to you until we get Hailey back, because one of the things that you've managed to do is to go in and out of the independent to Hollywood films to independent to Hollywood. How have you been able to manage that in terms of it changes, I'm sure, when you're making your films and charting your own course, and as opposed to being brought on to make someone else's film and do what they want to get done. So how have you been able to manage that, and how's that work for you?
Well, first of all, I want to make it clear that I don't really, I'm not able to go in and out, to make films here and there. It's like it's a struggle each time, I have to, it's a hard, you know, it's a hard business. I mean, you're sort of lucky if you get a job, you find a job. So I don't really, I mean, it's a future that you can't go to the bank on. You can't predict that you're going to be doing this or that in the coming years or so forth. So it's not like if you're a plumber or anything like that, a carpenter, that you know that every day you're going to go out and work, and this economy goes bad or something like that. There's always a job for you. But here, it depends on so many variables, and so you really can't take that. I hate to call myself a filmmaker in terms of Hollywood, because I make too few films. As far as independent films are concerned, the same thing. Making films that takes 10 years to do is really ridiculous in a way. But that's the sort of life that we accept. I remember before digital and before, I mean, when there were somewhat more of an opportunity to distribute films for independent films. on the average, it took 5 to 10 years to do a film. You know, to get the money to put a film out and try to get distribution. There were a lot more funding organizations, I think, then, and more sympathetic towards you. I don't know if that exists now, but I think the thing that's really interesting is that, not to change subjects, but I was at the NAB earlier this year in April, yeah, and it was really interesting because it had a lot of young entrepreneurs there who were very successful at starting a business out of something that you wouldn't think that was anything that would be, you know, profitable or successful or business. I mean, this guy did a roller skating kind of a video, and just with a GoPro, and it turned out very nicely. He had it. He put it on YouTube and started getting hits and more hits, and then he started making more and more hits, and then what do you call it? Businesses sort of wanted to get involved in his
Charlie.
Yeah.
So why did you turn off my why did you turn me off, man?
Because you kept interrupting. No. It's so I think what it is. I mean, I don't really look at myself as really in any one of those worlds, in a sense. That's strange. It's kind of strange, but it's so hard to make a film, you know, and either an independent film or in a Hollywood film, and it's more easier in many ways to do.
Christopher, how do you keep your passion? How do you keep your fire after all these years?
Well, I think the thing is to, I mean, you always have ideas, and there's always this dream of being able to make this film, you know, and you know, it's a process that you accept. You know, that it's going to take a struggle, and what else can you do, you know? I mean, I've been lucky so far, I think, because I've been able to feed my family and, you know, and send my kids to school. His name is Haile and so forth. But it's something that, you know, when I go around talking to schools, lecturing sometimes, you know, students want to hear the positive, you know, and you try to tell them, look, this is like the NBA or anything else. There's only so many people that they're going to take, you know, and every school now has a film department. So you have every year people coming out, and all the people I know who are involved in the business are going to other places and they can't find jobs. And so, you know, what can you tell us a freshman or a student coming out saying, oh yeah, it's a great opportunity, but you find examples like at the NEA where people have been very smart with this new technology and being able to use it very effectively and been hiring people, making jobs, and becoming quite successful. This one guy has his own business, and he hires people who don't know anything about film because he figured that they're the ones who are best at being novice at things or something. It's this process he has that because he never held a camera before, you know, and he figures that those are the best filmmakers, the best people who he wants to hire, you know, because they're the most enthusiastic. But he's able to turn that little bitty skating thing into $1 million business. You know, he's making these films all over the world. I mean, all these big this big company like Ford and all these other companies, GM, whatever it is, are asking him to do commercials.
No, I mean it's amazing.
These ad agencies are tracking results.
Yeah, I was saying I think that's why it's important that the millennials meet with the elders, with the experienced veteran filmmakers. I don't even call you elders, but you are in our world. We're sitting around. For me, this is like sitting around the baba tree, you know, having everybody around listening to y'all. We're like but
the problem, I'm gonna say once, and then not interrupt you. The thing is, though, the people to learn for are this new generation of young people who are out there in this new technology who are using it successfully. You know, I mean, we're like dinosaurs in a certain sense, you know, and surprised if we do make a living off it. But I mean, I can't tell anyone anything, you know, how to survive in this environment. But these young kids who grew up on computers and tweeting and all this sort of thing like that, they know how to make this thing work. And I think, you know, that's in a way we should probably, if we're going to say how are we going to survive, it's looking at that generation. You know, how
I
are
think,
they?
but Charles, I think what's missing in the young people, the technology is there, but the truth and the stories and the ability to tell effective stories
Mhm.
and the history. I think all of that is what's missing. So I think that's the danger of not having a Charles Burnett or a Haile Gerima in your life, in your circle, because having the technology is one thing, but if you don't learn, like the whole saying Kofa concept, then you're
Or
just
even
out.
three-act story structure.
Yeah, but no. What I'm saying is this. I'm saying that these people who have a more mature look at film as an art form should not change, but listen to these young people and people who are very savvy in this new technology and find out how they are, surviving and using, they're using them as models, to um, to sort of make our films and get our films out there. I'm not saying that we have to change our style or anything like that, but in terms of the method of distribution and getting out there, making money, it's something that we have to look at in a different way.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay. We're joined by Shawande, T'Challa, and Edgar. Do you have any comments? Who are also normal speakers. Do you have any comments to add to the
How you
discussion?
doing, Juanda?
Hey, how's it going? Good to
Hmm.
see you, Max. It's been a while.
Nothing as
Yeah,
Likewise,
I
Juanda.
think
just
that it's
listening.
important I guess I'm kind of in the middle because I'm not quite an elder and I'm definitely not a millennial. But I
Okay.
think that that it's also important for us to kind of know the basics of this new technology and reach out to the millennials to help us to market and sell it. And then in exchange, we can teach them, like Maxie said, three-act story structure, etc. It'll be an even exchange, and then we can just kind of rally around each other.
Yeah.
This new technology is not going anywhere, and it also makes it very efficient and effective. And we can focus if we get them in our camp. We can focus on telling our stories, and they can take it from there.
Well, I think the value. Hi, Shwanda and Edgar.
Hey,
Um,
how's it going, Sheree?
I think the value of having people like Charlie and Haile around is, kind of pretty much what Ada was saying, and that is that um, every era is going to have its own method, its own technological highway, and so film was a means. By film, I mean the celluloid camera that hooked into a separate sound, with a cable in those days, in the Haile Charlie days. That was a methodology for telling a story. So before that, there was a radio methodology of telling a story. Before that, there was a fire that people sat around to tell a story. But the thing that's in common with all of those eras before us is the storytelling content, the way a story is told. And I think that because we're in an era that has so much technology and so much of an imposition of a profit motive, a commercial milieu, that storytelling gets reduced to something that's very flat, something that's very fast, and texture, implication, innuendo, metaphor, all those things that make storytelling really tasty and engaging and also mind developing, imagination developing, frequently get left out, you know, in order to make it fit that kind of commercial format.
Hmm.
And so, tweet is not a place to tell a story, or Twitter.
Right.
You
Right.
know, it may tell you a joke, it may tell you something funny, and it may be thought provoking, yes. But I think that let's not say those are the only ways to tell stories. Let's look back at real good literature, oral literature, written literature from different countries, different languages, and let's see what they did that can enrich the next generation's way of telling a story.
Hmm.
And so the films that, if we look at the film era or the era of filmmaking that Black people have had an impact on, also in the continent. I mean, continental Africans have a wonderful film legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at those stories. I think that's the best thing that can be passed on to the next generation is let's take the previous generations very seriously. Look at what makes something classic.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that says, is there a universality about film? Well, students at Howard think that often that a universal film is something that has a white person in it,
Mm-hmm.
or it has something to do with white. It doesn't have to do with their mother or their sister or their brother. When in fact the only thing that's universal is love, hate, resentment, jealousy. No matter what cultural package it comes in through. So I think this also goes back, Ada, to your question about Haile's film, Your Tutelage, because it takes place in Ethiopia. It takes place, in a place that many African Americans will probably never see. The language is an indigenous language, and the concepts that it works with are universal concepts. So the same thing happened with Sankofa when we watched what was happening in Ghana, for example, and Sankofa, or vice versa, Ghanaians were watching what was happening, in the sugar plantation. You get transported to that location, to those characters. Those emotions are universal.
Right.
So I think those are notions of classic literature or classic film. What in it appeals to you because it's in a human heart,
right,
human brain, and so that's, I think, if we can do anything as people around filmmakers, is to kind of close that gap between people who have been around, if it's a book, if it's a film or whatever, and a generation that really, really can benefit from being exposed to that material.
That was perfectly said, Sharik. I totally agree. But I think one of the things that needs to change is a mindset. If you look at Haile's films, and even some of your films as well, Charles, the films that you made for specifically like the Child of Resistance, the Killer of Sheep, where you all made speaking to the black audience, speaking. Who goes and sees that now? Not black folks a lot of times. The larger audience is the crossover, artsy, highbrow white audience. The same audience that is going to see the blues and the zydeco and all the things that are to our culture is being ignored or looked over. Even the books are being looked over and ignored, and it's being taken to another level by another culture. And so trying to reach those and change their mindset to crossover, to see films that are indigenous, that have indigenous language and culture is not an easy feat.
No, I see. Let me say one thing. I remember showing my film Killer Sheep at a community, part of Pearl Bowser and Franklin series, and I was outside of this community theater in Wisconsin or someplace, and Milwaukee or someplace, and my film was showing, and I come out, I don't want to see it, and then these little teenagers came out, and they had on the outside they had these posters of like some of those black exploitation movies by Fred Williamson and things like that, and so this little kid came out and he said, and now that's a real movie, pointing at the Fred Williamson, and I just passed it on, but the thing about it is that you have a generation. I mean, that generation was salvageable, but I mean, you have people now who aren't educated, and you have intellectuals who aren't educated in a way as well. I tried to take a film, a black boy, Richard Wright, talking about a classic movie it was HBO, I think it was, and we had a good producer attached to it, to the show. In fact, she invited me to join her and to come over to HBO. We did, and when this was a black woman who was in development, we thought, okay, that was another positive, So we started talking to her about, about film and in general, and I thought, it was a time when it was a year when The Great Debater was out, and I said, I was talking about how I liked the film and how, it had such a message and things like that. and she turned to me and said she hated the film. Okay, I knew I was in bad water then. Okay, and then we said, well, well, the film we want to bring to you, develop, is Richard Wright's Black Boy, and she another curtain fell, and she said, well, that's boring. I mean, you do all these black films and stuff like that, and we were like shocked, and she said, well, we're doing a film on Louis Armstrong. And it's Louis Armstrong. It's the story of Louis Armstrong, life of Louis Armstrong. But the main thrust of the story, Louis Armstrong being abducted by the mob, and that was the story, and that was the hook, and then when you look at these kids, and people who are in this business, it's not about 3 acts, 1 act. I mean, getting all those things down. It doesn't make any sense. But people who have experience, they don't hire. Writers, if you get over 30, you're gone. So it's this attack on culture and education that Hollywood that you have to confront. You have people who are participating in that who don't want to. I mean, these are black people who don't want to make films that have any substance to it. It's all about Marvel Comics now and things like that, to a large part. So, I mean, the thing you have to do is, I think, slowly build an audience. I mean, the good examples like the Pan African Film Festival, any black film festival, are people come and they really love these films, and there's these conversations and things like that when the film is shown. So there is a need for it. I mean, I saw Black Girl at the Los Feliz Theater many years ago when it first came out. It was first distributed, and I thought that no one's gonna like it. All white audience. We got when the film was over, there was this crowd of people talking about how great the film was. And I was quite surprised that this was a white audience who really thought it was one of the most profound films they've seen. And that changed my attitude in many ways, knowing that if you give people a chance, then they will see it. But we're fighting a system that's undermining the black experience, black culture, and they're only presenting it as drugs and things like that. And you got these kids buying into it and making movies like that's where they think they can make a movie and make money, is make these kind of movies.
Yeah.
Mr. Burnett, that's one of the that's one of the ways that this new technology is so exciting, though, because when we get folks like Ava DuVernay and how she's used the technology to build her brand, but also we look at things like even YouTube. When you put a trailer for your video for any of your movies, you can go into the inside, look at data, and it begins to tell us who's watching our products, where are they coming from, what age are they, what gender. So there's a lot of recording artists that they book themselves based on their YouTube data. They get themselves booked in different cities based on seeing the demands for their talent from the insights that comes from the data. So there's insight from Facebook pages, there's inside YouTube pages, and we begin to, so sometimes we suddenly get surprised to discover demographics that we didn't know are following our work. And you can use Facebook ads to target those demographics. Once you find out who they are, you're able to go to the Facebook ads and create ads that go exactly to your existing fans. You can find fans of any of your past movies or products or even students, or you can very specifically on Facebook. So as we talk about crowdfunding and campaigns and things like this, we have to break these mass audiences down into these little sliver niches and use Facebook and these others in order to target and make the messaging reach them, just specifically. It's no longer one universal mass message or one brand for any of us. We all have these little slivers to start to target.
No, I agree with you. I agree. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, it really is. One of the things I think we're gonna wrap up soon, but one of the things
I don't think you should wrap up. What's Edgar gonna say? I want to hear Edgar's voice. What's going on here?
Yeah, I want to hear what's up with Edgar too, man.
Today. I can't see anything now.
What?
I can't see anything.
I see you. I can see you.
Okay.
And we
Can you
hear
hear
you.
me?
You know, basically,
Yeah.
I have nothing to say,
You
nothing to
look like,
add because I agree with every one of you.
but you look like you're
I'm
in the
just being
ghetto.
shy and listening. I am in the ghetto of Glendale. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I just finished a short, and people say, "Are you going to enter in the festival?" And I'm like, "Well, I could very well do that, and I've done my years of doing festivals with other projects. I decided to release it on YouTube. Um,
Yes.
and there's a I'll cherry pick a festival if I want to enter. You know, give them my $50 or my $100 or whatever. But I've noticed a lot of festivals are just money making schemes.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
they're there to make money, and no one's giving you any. You know, competition's nothing nowadays, and the prize you win is a handshake or pat on the back. I'd rather take my chances online, on YouTube or Facebook, social media. You know, tweet. You know, I have a Twitter account now. You know, I'm telling folks go watch. I'm demanding that folks go watch the movie. And if there's a festival that comes out that looks like it's serious, or there might be something from that, I will enter it. But I'm not saying it's bleak, but
Yeah,
it's
but
bleak.
are you tweeting my films too? This now, are you
I
tweeting your
I
tutelage?
will. I
You
will. Are you
better,
streaming? Are
because
you
I'm
going to
coming to
stream?
LA. If you don't tweet my film, you're finished.
Let me ask you a question. Though. Are you going to stream your movies now?
Well, no, I'm gonna come to for consultation from the elders, you and Charlie and everybody. But I just want to say a little bit about this thing. In terms of, I think black people always, when there's a new technology, we
Behind the eight
seem,
ball.
yeah, we seem to go crazy about it. From when I remember film to tape, tape to digital. To me, what is very, very real and clear to any sane person
Hmm.
is that culture, from, even if you forget Africa for a second, you take Romans, Greeks, culture is a healing expression. We confuse that sometimes. Sometimes black people think the healing story we want to tell is not commercial, or commercial is a very vicious discussion. Because how can slavery be commercial? Isn't it commercialism that brought slavery into this brutal planet? So black people can have it and eat it too. As far as I'm concerned, we want to do healing movies of our stories. Then we have to face the consequences that come with it. But let's not confuse where we work. To me, every intellectual expression should go towards building that expression's industry. White people can never manage the story of black people. It's impossible. Psychologically, they're incapable, and black people cannot enslave the story of black people to white people because there's a psychological schism going on. And therefore, as far as I'm concerned, let's not really confuse this matter. You want to make a serious story that helps you heal yourself? Then don't think of it commercially. Go work as a waiter, carry bricks to make those movies. So for me, it's the confusion of this that always brings us into a new situation. I don't expect a white person to have produced Sankofa. There's no way. Sharik and me are the principal producers. You, Ada, worked with us for many years to do that movie and bring it into a reality. No white people, okay, their psychological state of guilt and shame cannot allow them to supervise the story of black people, especially the story of healing. To me, it's okay. Comedians, okay. Comedic movies, okay. Obnoxious movies, okay. White people make obnoxious movies too. Fine. But let's not confuse. Certain kind of films can only be done by the very people who expect for the exorcism byproduct of that story. When we confuse that, we fight each other, we put down each other, we argue about each other. Has nothing to do with, every argument is boring to me now because I heard it when Sounder first came out.
Yeah.
That is what year did Sounder come out? I don't see when Precious came out, the discussion was the same. The mouth was different. The individuals were different. The discussion was the same because it is an enslaved population discussing powerlessness.
Well,
Unable
I mean, listen, I mean, Haile,
wait a minute.
go ahead.
Unable to greenlight our stories. Okay, to me, every time we confuse independent filmmaking, if I want to tell a story about, you know, a pornographic, violent, sexually exploitative film, I don't have to go independent. All I have to do is join white people, and they'll be happy that I don't want to remember anything of my past. I want to do a pornographic movie, I'm fine. And so, please, my manager here is about to take me off the screen. Yetutli's official launch is Indiegogo June 1st.
Mr. Gerima, one question, Mr.
Official
Gerima.
launch. And then
Where can
I'm going to be, since the brother talked about Eva, I'm going to be
where can young people see your film? For you, Mr. Burnett.
I'm going to be at Afram also to tweet for the first time the tweeting population that tweets communications now. Did I do it?
No, Haile.
Have you all considered Edgar was
Just really
suggesting?
quickly, I just want to plug that. Hi, I'm sorry to interject. This is Adet Yosef, the project manager of the campaign. It's Wednesday. He's doing a Twitter takeover with Ava DuVernay's organization, Affirm. So from 11 to 8 p.m., there's going to be all different filmmakers of color having similar discussions like this, and Haile will be one of them. So I hope you all join in and that you follow @YouSwitchMovie and Child of #.
And Charlie, eat your hearts out. This, you see my supervising coordinator, eat your hearts out. You want to work with me? I have to sign you as your agent.
There is ability, Mr. Gerima and Mr. Burnett, a possibility for a whole new generation of folks to discover your film. You know, by way of like Vimeo Pro makes it so simple for you to upload your film and immediately begin taking payments on that. So perhaps you can have your own Sanko Film Festival and make every one of your movies available for a limited time online, whether it's free, whether it's for fee. But there's going to be general makers who name, but not seeing those films.
Well, let me say this. I think I'll tell you. There are young people, by the way, you have two of them there. As far as I'm concerned, there are many young African-American filmmakers who sincerely want to do better than us. The problem here is how can they collectivize their energy? Charlie and me didn't tell you one thing. We are individuals of the many people whose name is not said. Bush Mama could not have been done without Roderick Young, Larry Clark, Charles Burnett. So the collective energy we worked on each other's film is what the new young generation of filmmakers need. You folks need to work with each other. And it's not easy. People have to relinquish and temper with their ego to work together. You can't be an egotistical island and work together. You have to compromise and come together on basic common grounds and make history. To me, I think that's the missing part. The lack of communal working. I am sad every time I go to LA to see former students of mine, actually like Edgar. Edgar is like older than me. When I see him on this video now, he's going to look older than me, and I'm shocked because this is a guy who needs to communally work with other filmmakers like Jeff. I know he works with friends, but people need to work together. If not, our experience is because we worked together. Irregardless of our individual temperament, we worked with each other. I think that gets lost when we talk about, otherwise we look bad. As far as I'm concerned, without the very people, the actors who worked for free in Bush Mama, I will not be where I am now. Without the actors and the crew that worked on Ashes and Embers, I will not be called, oh, the guy who made this amazing film. There would not have been Sankofa without the early filmmakers who helped me platform myself, however modestly. I know it takes me 10, 20 years to finish a film, but still, I am a broader product of that collectivism. So is Charlie. This gets lost. As far as I'm concerned, there are a generation of young people who are serious, who are really agonized about it, but they don't know how to hook up. To me, that's the most revolutionary thing that is expected of them by history, not by me. I'm not dictating it. I think that every movement, including white filmmakers, is made of collective vertical mobility.
I mean, and with that said, create your own cultural legacy via film. I want to wrap this up. Haile, you got somebody to must have lit a fire under you. Okay, you just getting started. But I want to wrap things up.
On one hand, I'm asked to advertise. On one hand, you ask me a question. He wants me to advertise it.
No,
Look at her.
Well, we're shooting for $500,000, which is a lot of money every day. So I think that's why Sarah is in the background jumping up and down, because she really, really wants to make it.
What's she supposed to?
If we don't make $500,000, we lose the $500,000. We're trying to match some money that's been offered, so we have to make $500,000 to get through production. So that's why we're a little antsy on this side.
You know, but if it's only that much we need, Charles Burnett could give it to us. If it's only that much we need, Charles Burnett can give us.
Right, Haile. Yeah, right.
No, we're gonna wrap things up. We are definitely gonna have to have some more BlackFilmmaker.net, No More Speaker Bureau gatherings. This is like sitting under the tree, I said.
Yeah.
But this is good. I want to thank Charles Burnett. Thank you for joining us. Edgar Davis, Haile Gerima, Maxi Kalia, Shrikiana Aina, Shwanda Tichawao. I don't know what happened, but all NOMO speakers. We encourage you to log on to nomospeakersbureau.com and register and book these folks. Book these folks for speaking engagements. We encourage you to support Haile Gerima's next film, and as well as, you know, Edgar's film. When you get it out, give us the link. We'll get everything out. But definitely register so we can get the information out to you at nomospeakersbureau.com. I want to thank urbanfreelancers.net for working with us, and we're just going to sign off now and keep the conversation going. Yep. And definitely, like I said, cultural film.
And thank you, Ada, for pulling this together. Keep it up.
Great, Ada.
Oh, thank you all.
God bless everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.